President-elect Trump fully backing House Speaker Mike Johnson ahead of Friday's speakership vote. Trump saying Johnson will, quote, do the right thing. But the position may not be a lock, as Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie and Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz still are opposing Johnson, despite that endorsement from Trump. Massie flat out refusing to vote for him. Spartz posted this on X. I understand why President Trump is endorsing Speaker Johnson, as he did Speaker Ryan. However, we still need to get assurances that Speaker Johnson won't sell us out to the swamp. Speaker Johnson can only afford to lose one Republican vote to maintain the gavel. Any potential leadership battle could delay the certification of the 2024 election. North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy joined me on this program last week, and he called out those who oppose Johnson.
We have some folks, Cheryl, truth be told, wake up in the morning and instead of saying, how can we get something done, they say, how can I obstruct and get on media? And that's extremely difficult.
Joining me now is Missouri Congressman Mark Alford. He's a member of the House Armed Services, Small Business, and Agriculture Committees. What did you make of that comment from him, Congressman, from your colleague?
Well, look, I've been in these conference meetings now for 2 long years. It seems like, 2 years ago, it took 15 votes to get Kevin McCarthy elected Speaker of the House. We do have some issues in our conference, but nothing that can't be worked out. And listen, Mike Johnson is the person to lead this. He is the person to lead the House at this time in our nation's history. Trump actually has the mandate, okay? He's going to be calling the plays. And Johnson is aligned with Trump to make sure that his mandate is carried out in the U.S. House. And we voted, Cheryl, we voted in conference a week after the general election in November unanimously to have Mike Johnson as our speaker. We need to carry through with our word. And this Friday, I will be proud to be the third person to stand up there on the floor of the U.S. House and yell out Mike Johnson's name for Speaker of the House. He's done a fantastic job trying to do the best he can in keeping this conference together and the House together.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that are on the agenda for this Congress, in particular, not just the certification, but, of course, spending bills. And I've got Samantha Dravis on set. Just got a question for you. Go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, Congressman, one of the things we hear fiscal conservatives criticizing about this process of doing these emergency spending measures and passing CRs and omnibus bills is that they simply don't have enough time to read the bill. You saw Congressman Chip Roy tweet about the CR. I only had an hour and a half to read this bill. And so I understand you're going to be an appropriator next year. What do you think is the prognosis for potentially returning to regular order and passing appropriations bills through regular order and addressing some of those concerns? I completely agree with you. There's no other speaker candidate who could get to 218. It has to be Speaker Johnson. At the same time, some of these concerns about the way we do business in Congress are valid.
Well, look, I agree with you. Things have to change. They are changing. We're moving in the right direction. This time last year, we only had one of the 12 appropriation bills passed off the House floor. This year, we have 5. We have all 12 passed out of committee, which is a big deal. Tom Cole, the chair of appropriations, has done a masterful job in getting those passed. The problem is we can't get our own conference to vote on these appropriation bills. And we've got to have the Republican votes to do that. You're not going to find a perfect appropriation bill. You're not going to agree with everything in an appropriation bill. We've got to get these 12 passed. We're on the right track to do that. I think with Trump's support, when he becomes president, he is going to, I think, put some pressure on some of these holdouts to get these appropriation bills done and quit holding up the business of Congress.
Well, one of the business agenda items that is very important to the American people because of how they voted in November is the border and, of course, the issue of immigration. The total cost of Trump's planned mass deportation operation is estimated to cost $315 billion. That's coming, this estimate, from the American Immigration Council. Time is reporting about the massive backlog at immigration court cases that could slow down deportations, with more than 3.6 million cases pending. Now, immigration advocates are telling the LA Times that Governor Newsom there is planning to combat Trump's deportation operations, but that does not go far enough. They now want funding for lawyers to represent detained immigrants, Congressman. And in particular, back to this issue in the courts. I mean, Newsom, that's one problem. But there's 3.6 million cases that are pending because of the fact, and this is what they point out to, that the law requires they have a final order of removal issued by that court, but those courts are understaffed. So you're going to have to hire a bunch of new government workers to staff the courts to even get the cases through. And then there's also the issue of where you're going to put them as they're waiting to be potentially deported.
Well, Tom Homan is working on that, along with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, who's provided some land to build some facilities, very nice facilities, to hold these people until their cases can be adjudicated. By the way, only 1 out of 10 is a proper asylum claim when you look at these. But look, this is all Joe Biden's fault. Let's make that very clear. Through his failed policies, his lying along with Alejandro Mayorkas, the biggest liar since Pinocchio, have failed the American people with a failed border policy. This, I call it a repatriation project, not a deportation project. We're going to repatriate some 11 million individuals who should not be here. And Tom Homan is right. It is illegal to harbor these illegal aliens, and everything must be done to stop that as well. Anyone in the United States who is illegally harboring illegal aliens is going to have to answer to the federal government for that. But this $315 billion is an investment in this repatriation project. It is going to cost money on the front end. It's going to save us money and save us security on the back end.
All right. Before you go, I do want to get just real quick your comments on this trip that you originally took to the Middle East. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. is warning Yemen's Iranian-backed Houthi rebels to stop attacks on Israel or face the same fate as Hamas and Hezbollah. But that's after recent Houthi drone and missile attacks in that region. Congressman, you and this bipartisan group of lawmakers went to the Middle East. You spoke with leaders from not just Israel, but Egypt, Jordan, the Saudis. What did you learn, and what can you tell us about that trip?
They are all upset at Iran. They want us to do something about Iran. They want us to do something about the Houthis, and we did while we were there. The Whiteman Air Force Base sent over B-2 stealth bombers loaded with some pretty good bombs and took out some targets in Yemen, the Houthi targets of deeply embedded ammunitions there, which I was quite proud of. And here's the problem, Cheryl. The Houthis, funded by the $16 billion that went to Iran of sanctioned money that Biden released, have been using that money to hit ships in the Red Sea. Egypt is losing $600 million a month in lost revenue from the Suez Canal that they would be getting because these ships aren't going through the Suez Canal because the insurance companies won't cover the ship's insurance because of the Houthis. Something has to be done. We have done something. Israel's going to do something. The Houthis need to be eliminated. They're a menace to this world.
All right, Congressman, very interesting, in particular with that shipping issue. There's a lot to unpack there. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Congressman Mark Alford.